Welcome to Practical Exploitation, the breakdown on breaking in. I'm your host, Rob Fuller, but you can call me Movix. Today we're going to be going over Windows Remote Management, WinRM. Let's get into it. As you might have noticed, we are no longer Metasploit Minute. That's really just because we felt that it didn't expand far enough for what we were going to talk about. I really wanted to talk about all kinds of different tools, all kinds of different techniques and procedures and TTPs and MITRE attack frameworks and all of these other things that didn't really fit into the Metasploit Minute box. And I just wanted to expand the show, try new things, try out different formats and different technologies, and I wanted to show you more. Honestly, that's what it came down to. I just wanted to show you guys more of what I'm passionate about. So getting back to the show, we're going to start looking at Windows Remote Management. Ready? Go. All right, so Windows Remote Management, or WinRM, is basically a remote way to run PowerShell, essentially, on a remote system. So it was developed 2012, 2011, 29, a long time ago at this point. And it's built into anything after Windows. I think it's Windows 2008 with the PowerShell 2.0 install. So if you have Windows Remote Management or in PowerShell installed with .NET Framework 3.5 or above, and I could be wrong there, but then you have the ability to run this thing. It is not on by default in Windows 2008, 2012. You have to run a quick config, but it's super simple to set up. And a lot of organizations turn this on by default these days. I believe it's default on Windows 10. Correct me if I'm wrong. But also, it's essentially just running code, right? So it's running code over an HTTP port. Now, 5985 is that default HTTP port that it uses. 5986 is the SSL version of that, which you can add certificates to, but many people don't, because 5985 actually has NTLM-SSP and the encryption that goes along with that under the hood. So it's HTTP, however, everything else is encrypted using keys and your password and a bunch of other things. Anyways, so the evil WinRM, the tool that we're going to be talking about, is the answer to the reason why I have hated WinRM on Linux forever. So Metasploit has, and oh man, 2012-ish, when I first started learning about WinRM, I told the Light Cosine, who is a developer on the Metasploit project, and he was super excited about WinRM because I'm like, this is literally PSExec for easiness, right? And so he made a bunch of Metasploit modules, one to detect it, one to try authentication and brute force against it, and one to get code execution. None of them really work anymore. I don't know why, some mix-up or whatever with libraries or functionality, but the scanner works, the scanners work, but like when you try and get a payload for some reason on Windows 10, it doesn't work. However, there were tools that you could do stuff with, like WinRS, which is a command line of Linux that you can run. It's built into Kali and a few others, and a couple other WinRM things. There's even a Python library to do it. But again, all of this was a lot of work. Anytime that I wanted to do WinRM stuff, it was always a lot of work to get it working, or if it didn't work at all, it just worked completely without any errors. It was super horrible. So when I found WinRM, or evil WinRM, when doing Hack the Box stuff, and everyone in Hack the Box seems to use evil WinRM when WinRMs are available, it was a mind blow. It was amazing, and I loved it. So I'm going to be talking about that. And one of the things that I forgot to talk about was the difference between WinRM and PSExec. So PSExec has been around forever, but the problem is that with 445, it didn't really have a way to say, run this command for me. PSExec does not do that. What it does is it creates a service using the service manager on Windows. It then points the service to a specific binary by copying over SMB a binary or pointing towards ones that already exists, and then runs that binary. And that's super loud. Anytime you do that as an attacker, you're creating services, stopping services, deleting services, and in Metasploit, they're random names with, I think, M to start. Super easy to detect. However, WinRM is just a HTTP connection that goes over. One of the cool things about WinRM, you can make it listen on other ports. So in super old versions of IIS, if WinRM was there, .NET Framework was there, and you installed IIS on top, it actually listened on that port because all it's doing is /WSMan. So I'm going to show you a script in a second here that basically looks at any HTTP port, and if it finds that /WSMan with a specific return code, it says that WinRM's there. So let's get into that, and I'll show you how this works. So real quick note, the show notes for every episode are going to be over here. I'm going to show them. You can skip ahead if you want. There's all these links that I'm going to show later on the show, but the first one I'm going to show is this NSE script. And if I go back, and I'll make this a little bigger, hopefully, there we go, for you guys to see. Richter, I apologize for messing up your name, person from China, from Shenzhen. Richter Z, you're awesome because I love your my NSE script that looks for this. I wish it was part of Nmap by default, but it's not. So all it does, if you want to look through the code real quick with me, is it says, hey, if it's a port that has a service of HTTP or it's 5985, then I want you just to try something real quick. Try a get on WSMan. And that's all it is. It's just looking for WSMan. And then if the status is not or equals nil, then WinRM's not there. If it's a 405, WinRM's not there. If it's a 401, I'm sorry, it's not there. But anything else, yeah, it should be a 402. So there's a if you hit WinRM and you get a 402, I believe, then you get a saying authentication required, just like this 401 would be, but WinRM would be there. It's looking for some XML basically, and so I'm sorry, maybe not XML. Anyways, so it says that WinRM is there, and I've actually ran this down here. If we scroll up, Nmap, just that port, our target today, the I don't want it to ping because I know it's there. I don't want it to resolve because it's an IP address. I'm saying version scan everything, give it a little bit of verbose, and that script is currently in the current directory where I'm at. If I scroll up, you can see that I'm right there. All right, so we can see that WSMan is there. It sees the port open and says that it's detected. Cool. We know that WinRM is there on our target. So let's look at evil WinRM, and I'm going to make this bigger too. So evil WinRM was made by hacker players from Spain, and it's super awesome. So in the description it says that this is shell, the ultimate WinRM shell, has lots of capabilities. And I want to kind of show you some of these capabilities. Now, default WinRM has anything you can do with PowerShell. It's basically entering PS session. You can do anything you want with PowerShell. It doesn't have, however, anything that I know of built into it other than PowerShell. And that's one of the cool, amazing features of Evo WinRM. It can do loads in memory PowerShell instead of loading it on disk, which PowerShell, you can kind of already do that by default, but this makes it super easy for you. It also has Donut. If you haven't talked to, or if we haven't talked about that, that's definitely going to be an episode. So we're going to show how Donut works. It's a shellcode generator / injector. AMSI bypasses we're going to talk about today, and load some C# memory or C# into memory. So it's really cool. I just wanted to say that Evo WinRM has the default stuff that WinRM has, but it also has all these extra features. All right, so let's show Evil WinRM. So Evil WinRM is just on that repo. You just git clone it. There really isn't anything else to do. You do have to bundle install, but I've already done that. One of the things that I don't like, if you see a git diff, so Evil WinRM has this gem file and this gem file lock. One of the things that I don't like that I have to do with Kali, with Parrot, with any repo or any OS that doesn't really have an up-to-date bundler, then you have to remove this bundled with from the gem lock file. That'll allow you to bundle install stuff. So when I do bundle install, it would normally just block it because it's not the same bundler version. And if I just do a bundle install with it removed, I can actually get everything that I need. All right, so now that I've bundled installed stuff, I can see that there's a bunch of options. There's the SSL option where I can switch it to 5985 if I want to. I can give it an IP address or a URL. That's another great thing. So like I've seen F5s with forwarding for WS-man for some weird reason. So that's basically RDP on the internet. So let's just give it an IP of the 192.168.80.140 that we had targeted. User, again, you're going to have to have a user. Let's just do user password. This is authenticated code execution. And you can disable colors if you want. So the reason why you disable colors, where did this go? Is that if you have any logging turned on that borks when there's colors involved. We'll talk about the S and the E later, but I'm going to start you off with just the regular execution. So Evil WinRM gives me straight into the documents folder. LS is just LS, whatever. It's not there. So git process, I want to show you that this is really PowerShell. You can tell that by the PowerShell right here, the PS right here, but process. This is getting process on the remote system. So I have code execution right now. Who am I / groups? And you can see the groups. I'm at a high mandatory level. That means I can do add many things. So I don't have to bypass any UAC thing. But there is one really important thing called the double hop problem. I will talk about that later. But because I've authenticated with our WinRM, it doesn't have a token to go any further. So I can't WinRM and then WinRM again to a different host. So let's show menu. And the menu is one of the cool features of WinRM, Evil WinRM, that is not built into WinRM itself. So if I type menu, what is happening here is it's loading all of the functions. Stupid thing. Loading all the functions that Evil WinRM has. So the coolest one that I like is bypass for MSI or AMSI, and I'll talk about that in a second. And that's all that it took. I just ran bypass AMSI and it's done. So now, what is AMSI? AMSI, or Anti-Malware Scan Interface, is the Microsoft amazing feature, and I don't want to downplay this at all. That it is super useful, super functional, does a lot of stuff. It blocks so much of the low-hanging fruit and even mid-hanging fruit. It makes I just showed how simple it is to bypass it. However, it is not something that is trivially bypassed when you're not an admin or not ready for it. So if you're running code or execution, if you're not doing this, you're going to get stopped and detected. And one of the cool things is that since AMSI or AMSI has opened up its APIs now, a lot of the other AV vendors are now hooking into AMSI as well to do detection. So they are amping up their own detection on top of AMSI. Whereas before, if you installed another AV, it would disable AMSI detection as well as Defender, because that's what it's linked to. And then you would have the cruddy AV on top of something that could have done way better. But as I showed, it's relatively trivial to bypass if you know it's there and if you're ready for it and if you doing some authentication stuff. Anyways, getting back into it, one of the links that I did want to show you is the AMSI interface for on the Windows Dev Center. It shows you all the features that it can do. It's looking for PowerShell scripts. So even those malicious PowerShell scripts that are all the rage these days, any executable, com file, MSI, ActiveX installation, any script host, WScript, script, anything that's executing inside of, um, you're trying to execute inside of macros, JavaScript, VBScript, VBA macros, all of this stuff. AMSI is the answer to that stuff. So if you crank up AMSI on all of your corporate hosts, you're going to actually have a pretty good time. It actually does a good job. And people and APT actors are starting to have to build this in to their code to do stuff, and that makes it even more detectable. And let's get into the AMSI scan buffer bypass. Now, this is how this bypass works. It's relatively straightforward, but I do want to show one simple feature of it. The way that the bypass for this works, this specific bypass, is that it does something really freaking awesome. So inside of the AMSI executables, there's this essentially a buffer space, right? Where it says, did this fail or did it not? And it gets loaded into the executable itself. So what this bypass does is overwrites that spot so it's always no, essentially. And that's what this does. So that's what this bypass for AMSI does, is it says always no on the buffer where AMSI scan goes to look for an answer. It's really cool. All right. So it's super simple for Evil WinRM. We have all of PowerShell. But what if we wanted to load something from PowerSploit? So I'm going to exit this and I'm going to do an ls on root PowerSploit. So I have PowerSploit built into here, or cloned into here, and I want to do, let's say, privilege escalation. So there's the PowerShell script, power up. And so when I start Evil WinRM, I can't do this after I've connected. I have to do this when I start. So I do root PowerSploit privesc. Now I give it a folder, and the cool thing about this is that if I give it a specific folder, I can load other things into that folder. But if I type menu and then I try power up ps1, it's going to try and load powerup.ps1, and it's going to fail because I haven't bypassed. It's probably going to fail, but because I haven't bypassed AMSI yet. So let's just wait for this. This is super slow because what it's doing is it's copying over little by little all of the PowerShell code into memory and then executing it. So if I type menu again, oh, it worked. So I didn't have to bypass AMSI in this case. So remember how we had a very small list when we had it before? Now I can have all of the features of PowerUp.ps1, which is a privilege escalation script, and I can run invoke all checks to see where I can escalate. And this is all happening in memory, which is awesome. Current user already has local admin privilege. Again, it's not going to really show us anything super awesome because we're already bypassed and UAC, and that's kind of what this is looking for, is looking for any way for the current user who's already an admin to get past UAC, or the low-level user we are to get past UAC or escalate into admin privileges. And again, it's going to show us everything because we already have admin privileges. So you can get PowerSploit from the PowerShell Mafia repo over here, and the bypass and everything that we just talked about right there. I'm going to close this out because I think we did a pretty awesome job at just showing what Evil WinRM basics can do. I think we can do more with Evil WinRM that I can show off. One of the cool things that I really want to get into later on is these keys, private and public certificates. And we're going to talk a lot about Windows certificates in the coming episodes. You can also do hashes. So if you don't have the Windows password, you can do hashes and do all the things with that. And that's it. Episode 2, we'll be diving into the tool called Internal Monologue. If you enjoyed this, that's a horrible dad joke, but if you enjoyed this video, hopefully, and I didn't just ruin it for you, and you want to see more, hit that subscribe and notification button, the little bell icon, and you get notified anytime Hack5 posts new videos and all this great content that we have coming for you with practical exploitation. If you want to support the show directly, go to patreon.com/Mubix, M-U-B-I-X. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Mubix, and this has been Practical Exploitation. Bye.
Thanks for supporting Hack5. Find all our shows, community, and Pentest products at hack5.org.